Hello my friends, welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Chelsea and I'm so happy that you're here today. We are going to be doing a little mid-year reading check-in. Now before we get started on the questions or the prompts, I feel like I need to give a recap of what my reading has been like for the last 6 months. I have read a lot of books. I have not loved a lot of books. I feel like I've been in like a really weird reading mood. I don't know if my reading has been changing and therefore I'm not reading the right books to like go with my changing reading preferences or what, but I just feel like the books themselves have not been hitting the way that I would like them to. And it's kind of been a little bit discouraging, to be honest. But I do feel like I'm getting out of that funk. I've already started July and I've read a couple of 5-star reads already this month. So I feel like I'm getting out of that funk a little bit, but I just want to preface this video with that disclaimer because I feel like I repeat some of the same books for these prompts and I just wanted to let you know why. Like, I don't feel like I've had a ton of outstanding favorite books this year. So without further ado, let's jump into the prompts for this mid-year reading check-in. Question 1 is, how many books have I read this year? And by the end of June, I had read 99 books. Like I said, I have read a lot of books this year. And does it bother me that I didn't hit 100? Yes. Do I really care? Not really. I did a couple of big reading challenges at the beginning of this year, which might have been a reason for putting me in this like reading funk. I did 31 books in 31 days in January, and that already set my goal so far ahead. I've also done a couple of 7 books in 7 days challenges, which means I've read, 14 books in 2 weeks. So I've read quite a bit, which puts me a little higher in the number of books I've read so far this year. I think I will reach my reading goal, or am I going to change it? I'm going to keep it. My reading goal on Goodreads was 100 books. I've already surpassed that. I don't like trying to hit a large goal for myself. I feel like by the end of the year, if I get close to a certain number, I'll try to hit like an even number. I think last year I got to 176 books or something, and it was really bothering me that it wasn't like a clean 175, but I just had to finish the book I was reading by the end of the year. Like, I am who I am. So yes, I will keep my goal of 100 books. I've already surpassed it. I'm not worried about the number of books I read for the second half of this year. How many 5-star reads have I had this year? I have had 5 5-star reads, which is not a lot when you look at the number of books I've read. So I've been incredibly picky. I think, like I said, I just have been in a weird reading mood, and that's where we're at. So the best book I've read this year, that goes to Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. This is the 5th book in the Magnolia Parks series, but the 3rd Magnolia Parks book. The other 2 books are Daisy Hates books. I'm not going to get into that right now. If you don't know, I will discuss that at a later time, I'm sure. This is one of my favorite book series. This is my favorite book of the year so far. This was an easy 5-star and the only 5-star I had for quite a while. I loved this book. It made me cry. It made me laugh. It made me love BJ so much. It's a chunky one, but I loved every second of it. I read it in a weekend and I could not get enough. So this book has my whole heart. Next question is the best sequel I've read so far this year. I'm gonna have to say Magnolia Parks 3 again, Into the Dark, as well as I loved Redeeming 6, which is the sequel in the Boys of Tommen series. It's the sequel to Saving 6, which is Aoife and Joey's story. And I also gave Glow of the Everflame 5 stars. I loved that book. It's the 2nd book in the Kindred's Curse saga. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I loved this book so much. It was my first 5-star read in like 2 or 3 months. I was obsessed with it and I can't wait to pick up book 3. The biggest surprise. My 2 biggest surprise books or series were The Atlas of Us. It was such a little sleeper hit for me. This is by Kristen Dwyer. I haven't read anything by her, but I immediately was like, I need to go read her entire backlist. I loved it. And then I would say the other book series that I absolutely loved was the Mind F series. I read this in January during my 31 books in 31 days challenge, and I ate this series up. I read all 5 books in like 2 days. They are novellas, they're a little bit shorter. I think all of them come in at 200 pages or less, and I could not stop. I thought I was gonna enjoy this series. I was like, oh, I'll give it a chance. Oh my gosh, I could not stop reading. I've recommended it to everyone I know that likes kind of darker romance. It's not as dark as you think it's going to be. It's darker in some aspects and not as dark in others. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you've read the series, you know. My newest fictional crush, this was actually kind of hard for me. I feel like I've continued a lot of series this year, so there's not a ton of new fictional crushes, I think, that have stuck out to me, but the one that immediately came to my mind was Luther from the Kindred's Curse saga. He's giving me Rhysand vibes. I love him. I always picture Lex Luthor when I hear the name Luther from Smallville, which is not the vibe. That's not what Luther looks like at all. Every time he spoke, I was like, okay, yes, please. Thank you, sir. I can't wait to see like where their story goes because I loved him so much. A book that made me cry. Again, Magnolia Park's Into the Dark absolutely made me cry. So many tears. And Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. I think about Joey and Aoife on the regular. I love them so much. A book that made me happy. I'm gonna have to go with, I have two options for this one. I'm gonna go with Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I know that there's some mixed reviews about that book out there, but I had such a flipping good time reading it. Like, I just was happy and giddy the whole time. I couldn't stop smiling and giggling. Like, I had such a good time. And then the other book that I would say made me happy from beginning to end was The Ballad of Darcy and Russell. This is by Morgan Matson. This is her newest release. It's YA. It takes place over one night. And it's kind of like, can one night change your whole life? And how fate works and how we weave in and out of each other's lives. And I had such a good time reading this. I love Morgan Matson's writing. I love her YA style. She's fantastic. If you're looking for a YA summer romance, definitely check out Morgan Matson. This book came out in May. I read it in a night and I was so obsessed with it. It made me so happy. The next question is a favorite author, debut or new to me. And I'm gonna have to say Penn Cole, who wrote the Kindred's Curse saga series. I haven't read anything else by this author, obviously. This is my first series. I don't know if this author has other books, but I am going to find out because I'm loving the writing. I'm loving the style. I love the balance of fantasy and romance. Like, it's just so good. And I can't get enough of this series and of this author. A book that I enjoyed with mixed reviews. This one was a little bit difficult for me, but I'm gonna have to go with Destroy the Day by Bridget Kemmerer. I absolutely love this trilogy, and I had come into this book with very low expectations because I had heard not great things about it, but I ended up really loving this. I think I give it 4 stars. It was such a delight. I think it was a great ending, and I really enjoyed this one. The next question is the most beautiful book that I've bought this year, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit. First of all, I'm gonna have to say Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I mean, look at this cover. It's stunning. I love all of these covers. I like the original ones, not the shoe ones, but I love this cover so much. I also want to say Past, Present, Future by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and look at these edges, just stunning. I love that we have the Space Needle right here on the spine. I think that's so cute. I love that one. And I also went to Paris earlier this year and I did a little book shopping. And not that I think this is the most beautiful cover, but I think it's really unique that I found it. And that is A Court of Thorns and Roses in French. And it's like a hardback. There's no jacket on it. It's just a hardback book. It's kind of shiny. And obviously it's all in French. And I just thought this was such a cool, unique purchase. I'm so glad I have this on my shelves. I think it's really unique. And I love that it's in the old design cover. And then some books that I want to reread this year. I really wanted to reread Beach Read this year, this summer. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I think it's probably gonna go on my August TBR. I haven't reread this since I read it when it first came out, so I'm excited to kind of dive into it. I want to annotate it. And I remember like loving this book, and I feel like I recommend it all the time, but I've only read it once. So I kind of want to go back and reread, annotate, like fall in love with this book again. The second one on my list is For the Record, I Hate You by Amanda Gamble. She is an indie author. I love everything she writes, but this is by far my favorite. It's angsty. It's like new adult, second chance enemies to lovers. It's got a ton of music references. I just love the characters. I think they're like raw and real. And I've read it like 3 or 4 times, as you can tell. But I've been itching to reread this again, pick it up, go back to my favorite characters. Like, I'm definitely gonna be rereading that one this year. This reread I have already started, but I want to finish the Ember in the Ashes series. I'm currently on book 3. This is book 1. I want to reread this series before Air by this author comes out in October. That's a new book in this world, but I don't think it's the same characters, but I kind of wanted to like remember what happened in this series before jumping into the new one. So definitely want to finish that reread. And then I put this on at the last minute, but I think I'm going to be reading Fourth Wing and probably Iron Flame before the 3rd book comes out in January. I haven't reread this book since I first read it last May. I remember loving it. I remember not loving Iron Flame as much as this one, but I had such a good time with Fourth Wing, and I kind of just want to like go back to this world a little bit, and I want to remember all of the little things and see if I can find more details that tie into like what happened at the end of Iron Flame in this book. So I definitely will get to this reread in the fall. Next question is, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? Now, I have a few. First of all, we're gonna go with the Dark Artifices series. I have books 2 and 3 left. They are chunky, but this is on my fantasy series to read in 2024, and it's on my 24 and 2024 books, so I need to read this one. Also, I really need to get to these Infinite Threads. I read book 1 in February, maybe. I just need to get to book 2. I finished the Shatter Me series earlier this year, and I'm itching to get back into Tahara Mafi's writing, so this definitely needs to happen. Also, am desperate to pick up Masters of Death by Olive E. Blake. I was at the library the other day and I was like, ooh, a new Olive E. Blake book. And I'm like, let's read the books that we have on our shelf from her before we start picking up new ones, shall we? So this needs to happen. I've heard great things. I'm also obsessed with this cover. I just think it's gorgeous. So pretty. I love this. So this one needs to happen. I don't even really know what it's about, but I'm excited to start it. The next one is a new release that I haven't read, but I want to. That one's gonna go to Past, Present, Future. That book came out in June. I haven't picked it up yet. I'm desperate to pick it up. I think I'm gonna read it in a couple weeks. It's been on my, it's like on my summer TBR. It's on my July TBR. It was on my June TBR. I just need to read it. I'm a little bit afraid because I love Today, Tonight, Tomorrow so much, and I'm afraid to like not love this book as much as that one, but it's okay. It'll be fine if I don't. If it's not a 5-star read, that's okay. I'm just gonna be like so happy to be back with those characters, so I need to be okay with it. The next question is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have a few. Business Casual by B.K. Borison comes out next week. I'm so excited. I remember reading Lovelight Farms like when it first came out on Kindle Unlimited. I have the very original cover. I'm obsessed with this world. I love Lovelight. It's one of my favorite small towns, like fictional small towns. I can't wait to read Charlie's story in Business Casual. The Kendra's Curse book 4 comes out, I believe, at the end of July. I need to read book 3, but I am already anticipating book 4. And Air by Sabaa Tahir, I think that's how you say her last name. She wrote the Ember in the Ashes series, and Air is the next book in that world, and I'm very excited to read it. I think it comes out in October. Nothing Like the Movies, which is by Lynn Painter, and that is the sequel to Better Than the Movies. I love that book. I'm a little nervous for that one too, just because I think that the characters might not be together when we start Nothing Like the Movies, and I'm not ready for that. I trust Lynn. She knows what she's doing. I just need to trust her vision and her storytelling and go with it. There's also a book coming out by Julia Olivia. It's called If It Makes You Happy. It's like a 90s rom-com, Stars Hollow vibes book, and it comes out in the fall, and I'm so excited. It's gonna be on Kindle Unlimited. It's gonna give all the fall Stars Hollow, Gilmore Girls vibes, and I'm here for it. The next question is books that I've been putting off. There are quite a few. Let's chat. So obviously we have the Dark Artifices series. I've been putting off the rest of that series for a long time. I finally read book 1 in May. Yes, May. And I was going to read book 2 in June. I was going to read it in July, and I just still have not gotten to it. They're just, look at this book. It's so chunky. And book 3 is even longer. I can't. The next one on my list is The Winners by Friedrich Backman. I absolutely love Beartown. I love the series. I got this for my birthday a couple of years ago. I'm kind of afraid. I mean, also chunky. The next one is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. This one has been sitting on my TBR since Christmas. I bought it at the Barnes & Noble hardback sale. I really, really need to get to this one before book 2 comes out. The next one is Blade Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. The third one in this series has already come out. Let me just show you. There's a reason why I've been putting these books off. Look how chunky they are. I cannot. Sometimes I like a chunky book, and I think that's perfect for fall, winter. So this is great that like fall and winter are coming up, so I can read all of these books in the second half of this year. 5-star predictions for the second half of this year. First one is Business Casual. I've given all of the other books in the Love Light series 5 stars, so I think Business Casual will also be a 5-star. You with a View, which is not a new book. It's by Jessica Joyce. It came out last year, but I have it from the library, and everyone has told me like I'm gonna be obsessed with it. So I'm excited about that. It's just a romance. I think there's a road trip. I don't know. I think it'll be perfect for the summer. I'm gonna read it next week. Nothing Like the Movies. I gave Better Than the Movies 5 stars every time I've read it. So I think Nothing Like the Movies is gonna be a 5-star as well. I didn't give Lynn Painter's last YA 5 stars. What was that called? Betting on You? I gave that one like 3 stars. It was not my favorite, but I have high hopes for Nothing Like the Movies. The Kindred Curse saga, I believe I will give the last 2 books in this series 5 stars as well, based on how much I loved book 2. And I really think I'm gonna give The Winners 5 stars. I just need to pick it up and read it. This is gonna be perfect for the winter. Like, it's set in Sweden, there's snow, there's hockey. This is a winter book. The last question on our prompt list is any new goals for the rest of the year? And no, I don't have any new goals for the rest of the year. I'm just gonna read what I wanna read. And I need to continue my goals that I set at the beginning of the year. I only had 2. One was a 24 books in 2024 list. I am 11 books out of 24 read. So doing okay on that. I need to pick it up a little bit, but a lot of books on that list, I feel like, well, The Winners is on that list, Swordcatcher is on that list, Blade Breaker is on that list, and The Dark Artifices is on that list. So if I read those, I'll be golden. And then I had a list of 10 fantasy series I wanted to read in 2024. I would love to finish that list, but I've only completed 2 of the 10 series, and I've started 2 others, so I'm not doing so hot. I gotta keep reading some fantasy series, and I need to stop adding fantasy series to my list, but I'm a reader, so that's what I do. That's it for my mid-year reading check-in. I hope you had a great time watching this video. I hope I gave you some new books to add to your TBR, and let me know down below what your favorite book of the year so far has been, because maybe I need to add it to my TBR, because obviously I need some new favorite books. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!